All right, gonna do some final thoughts here. Not just the loon scenario. I gave most of my thoughts on my last video. Where I think I'd had half a dozen cocktails. But now I want to talk about first nothing game but glory. This is try not to do this too much. Volume 5 in the Musket, Ben Hall's Musket and Pike. You had the pleasure of meeting Ben Hall a couple of times, probably around 2002 or so in St. Louis. He would come to our gaming group. We'd play Musket and Pike. I didn't actually play against him, but we would play the Musket and Pike games. Really did created a wonderful series of these tactical games on the 30 Years' War. And here we go. I have the card-driven game by David Fox and Mike Welker, the 30 Years' War. It's my favorite two-player card-driven game. Not a huge card-driven game fan. I do like a lot of them. But this one, as far as a two-player game, to me is fantastic. And I bring this up because this came out in 2001, right around Musket and Pike. So combined, it really sparked my interest in the 30 Years' War. And we can see Wedgwood's, my well-worn copy of Wedgwood's 30 Years' War. It really sparked my interest in the period, and so I really thank Ben and David Fox, Mike Welker for really getting me to learn about a conflict I knew nothing about. Now, this isn't the 30 Years' War. This is the Scanian War, Nothing Game But Glory. My feelings overall is this is really a different game from the others in the system. You don't have the big 2-hex counters, infantry, regiments or brigades. They're all single hex. They're mostly smaller battles, but they're really interesting battles. And again, it's I've learned, a great deal about something I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about the Scanian War, and the designers of this, Brian Berg, Esklev Hansen, that's quite a mouthful, and Knut Grunitz, obviously know their stuff. I mean, you can see it through the notes here, which there's many, and really, this is almost, this is like Wedgwood's 30 Years' War, only on the Scanian War. So if you're a fan, obviously if you're a fan of Musket and Pike, you probably already own this. If you're considering getting into Musket and Pike, is this the first one to get? I don't know. I should have a thought, but, it's very different from the others in the series. Again, you don't have the 2-hex heavy infantry counters like you do in the others in the series, although some of them have single hex heavy infantry, but so it's a very different style of play. This is actually one of the few full map scenarios in the game. I think there's maybe 2 full map scenarios. Most of them are much smaller, much less terrain, but there's much less forces on the board. I find the scenarios in this to be more about maneuver than the other games in the series. The other games in the series tend to be, bigger armies, pretty much right in each other's face, and you have to, use you kind of get right into the battle. These tend to have, even with smaller maps, because of the smaller number of units, have more maneuver elements, and really having to pay attention to each unit, how the terrain affects everything. And every unit's so important because you have fewer of them. Anyway, Yeah, you could, one of my regular gaming buddies, I introduced Musket and Pike through this, and we played Worksaw, and I mean, he loved it right away, immediately bought Nothing Game But Glory, and I think he's bought a couple others, I think Saints in Armor as well. So yeah, I mean, you can definitely introduce people through this one because of the small size of the scenarios. A lot of them you can play, 2 to 3 hours. But overall for the series, if you start with this, you kind of have to relearn or learn, different things if you go to Sweden Fights On or, Gustavus Adolphus or this Accursed Civil War. Anyway, great scenario. Hey, you can't go wrong going with, if you're interested in tactical games, you can't go wrong with this series. It's so well designed, so well integrated, and it does things relatively simply. I pointed out in one of the earlier videos about how the leadership, is so important, and it's done with just a single number on the leader counter, as opposed to other tactical games where you may have like 6 numbers on the leader, to try and define, who's a better leader and who's not. Here, it's like a 0, -1, or -2. That's it. But yet those numbers, really are important in how the armies operate. So anyway, that's it for this. I think I'm going to move on to a different time period. I think I'm going to go Balance of Powers here for my, second video playthrough here on the Game Box. And that's a World War I, strategy game. And hopefully I will have some insight into that. And hopefully I had at least a little bit of insight in this as well. Oh, almost forgot. Holy Roman Empire. I put that out there just to contrast this with 30 Years' War. I have mixed feelings on this game. Maybe I'll cover this at some time. This is the reprint edition. It was originally, I think, a magazine game. So anyway, maybe I'll cover that at some point. Because really, I think I wanted to throw it out there to show how the effect of this, 2001 with Musket and Pike, 30 Years' War, how that really sparked my interest in kind of a period of time I did not know much about. So, okay.